Everybody, thank you for joining us again for another episode of the Pursuit of Purpose podcast. I'm Rob.
I'm Chuck.
And today our guest is
Natasha Garrett.
Natasha. Who are you with?
So my husband and I own G&G Enterprises, and I also get the privilege to own a B&I franchise serving Southeast Texas. So
A B&I franchise. Now, I have participated in y'all's cult-like functions, but for our audience out there who doesn't know, what is that?
So B&I, it's Business Network International, and it's an international franchise, and it is the world's largest and oldest referral organization.
Okay.
So it's intentionality behind it, word of mouth referrals, and helping people grow their business through the philosophy of giver's gain. So helping people without the expectations of getting something in return.
That's awesome.
It is.
I love the philosophy.
So these are business owners or representatives of businesses, and they I guess apply. And there's because obviously a lot of people do what a lot of other people do. So how do they do that? How do they separate folks so we're not stepping on each other's toes, as they say?
Yeah. So B&I is made to where we can build what we call chapters, and chapters are built with business owners, professionals. You don't have to be a business owner to be in B&I, but you basically represent a classification. So, for example, if you are an insurance classification, you don't get one insurance chair. You might hold the P&C chair, the commercial insurance chair, the supplemental insurance. So the goal is to build a chapter full of individuals because there's power in numbers. And so with every person in the room, you have on average of 200 contacts. So if you have 15 members in a chapter times 200, that's potential contacts. Whereas if you're in a chapter of 50 times 200 contacts, the chances of you connecting through B&I is high when you're intentional with who you're asking to meet. So the goal is to be classification specific. You do apply to a chapter. You don't just get into B&I, you apply, and a membership committee will do their due diligence and make sure that you are the right fit for that chapter, or maybe it's the right time in your business. We've had people that have gotten in that haven't even opened their doors and think, man, I'm coming in and I'm going to do this. And we're like, you're going to go through some hurdles opening up your doors, and you realize like, oh man, but I love to bake. And I'm like, well, you also have to run a business, and you have to have employees, and you have to have things that you haven't had to do. It's not about, very few people get to do what they love in their business because they're so focused on trying to run the business part of that we want to make sure we're setting people up for success. So it's maybe a not no, but a not right now. Or maybe it's a classification, conflict that we try to find them another home. So either we'll build a chapter if there's not a classification opportunity open in another chapter. Okay. So that's kind of what we do.
Okay. So one of the things you said, that these folks come in, and I'm sure there's a lot of statistics since it's older. You said it's one of the older. We kind of know how numbers work. So 200 contacts per person that's in a chapter. That tells me that we're not doing business just with each other. We're doing business through each other.
Through each other. So I tell people often, if you get into B&I to do a quick fix Band-Aid for your business, it will never work. Yeah. The goal is to network through the people in the room. So will you do business with them? Definitely. But I didn't come into that meeting on my Thursday morning meeting to be sold some carpet. Mm-hmm. I don't have carpet in my house. You know what I mean? But I would be interested to know who you want to meet. I don't want to hear about your commercial insurance contract. I don't care. I want to know who you want to meet. So that's the goal, is really to be uber specific in who you want to meet and how I can connect you, and some call to action. Maybe you want me to give you a Google review. Maybe you want me to like and share your social media page. I don't know. But whatever you're doing in your business is my goal.
Okay. It's not to buy from each other or be sold from each other. It's to help build each other.
100%.
Right. Well, that sounds like a very bonding opportunity then, because obviously these folks are doing a lot of business for each other. Then all kind of just good relations come from that.
Yeah. So Ivan Meisner, the founder of B&I, said one of the best things about B&I is you become friends. Yeah. It's one of the worst things about B&I is you become friends, because friends don't like to hold friends accountable. So one of the core values of B&I is accountability, and unfortunately, the world we live in, accountability is viewed
as a bad word,
a bad thing. And I view accountability as a good thing. When I've seen people held accountable, they tend to do better. So hold me accountable and stay in my lane and do the thing. So we have minimum expectations. In this region, I expect for those to be met. Not saying you won't have an off month, but I expect you to hop back on the train and get rocking in the right direction so that we can meet our goals. Not just within BNI, but for you to meet your goals. So as a BNI member, it's very frustrating when a member will get in and they're there 6 months or they're there 2 years and they're like, well, BNI didn't really work for me, but I'm looking at the input going, you didn't really do anything. It's like being mad at the gym for not losing weight. I have 3 memberships. I paid every month. What do you mean I didn't lose 10 pounds?
You get out of it what you put into.
There you go.
Exactly.
There you go.
So I do that analogy often because I tell people all the time, like, you guys always have Monday. You're never mad at the gym. You're never mad at the gym.
Right.
But you will be mad hatter at your chapter, like, man, I'm not renewing because I didn't get anything. And I'm thinking, you didn't do anything. Like, you didn't show up you're barely showing up to your meetings because there is an attendance policy, always rocking that line, or, you're not doing anything outside of the meetings. And the reality of it is, in BNI, your meeting is for the visitors. Your meeting is a weekly celebration for your members to attend and celebrate together and consistently be getting visitors in the room, not just for membership, but also to connect with visitors.
Right. So people can visit, like people can invite folks to come in to, I guess, maybe either for their business, or maybe it's one of those folks that you said someone may want to meet somebody. You're like, I happen to know them. Well, then invite them to our meeting. Yep. And then I guess that's some of those growth opportunities as well.
Yes, because BNI, much like any other organization, you're going to naturally have members that have to leave. They switch jobs. They have some major family crises. They've divorced, sick parents, kids, business struggles with them that they have to pivot. So you naturally will lose 30% of your membership. So if you're not in growth mode at all times, you will dwindle down to nothing in your group. In your chapter. And so with BNI, it really is about maintaining where you are and developing people. So the goal in our region is to develop leaders. And that's one of the reasons you don't see the same president year after year after year after year. You don't see the same people in support team roles. Now, I have people that love to be in charge, and we call it a lot of chiefs. We have a lot of chiefs in BNI, but we also have a lot of great leaders that have so much to share. And if you're really an effective leader, you're leading from behind. And that's what I really try to educate people. I'm not saying you can't be in a support team role or that we don't pivot, but I do try not to wear people out in a leadership capacity, because I see other organizations do that. They wear these people out. On, you need to be your president, your vice president, and then your president again, and then your vice president, and then your secretary treasurer, and then you're going to be in charge of membership growth, and then you're in charge of fundraising. And so I really try to make sure that we are seizing opportunities to develop people. And then I encourage them to take everything they learn here and apply it to everything else they're in. That's really when the light bulb goes off, is when someone realizes, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, we need to do this in this organization. And it's simple stuff like recognition. Who would have thought recognition is, most people think like, oh, recognition means I'm going to throw them up on social media or I'm going to give them a raise. And it's like, well, it can be more simple than that. It could just be hey, here's a $10 gift card for your coffee. I know you love coffee, and I really just want to take a moment to say thanks for doing X, Y, and Z. It could be so simple and such an impact than going to your team going, no one's doing whatever they want to do. But then you have 5 people up front that are always doing the things, but they don't ever hear they're doing the things. All they hear about is everyone's not doing the things. And so when you flip that mindset, it's like, okay, so as we are developing the leaders, my real goal is for them to develop the tools and the techniques to take the things that will work and apply it to other things that they're in, to develop wherever.
So it's growth focused.
100%.
Well, that's amazing.
It's very attractive to us as counselors and coaches, because folks come in some sort of a deficit, and they really just need those tools, some type of tool. And of course, the BNI tools, obviously universally applicable. I could see them bringing that to their other civic organizations where they volunteer. I'm sure if they have kids, they probably scout and, sport and all those sorts of things. And, how multiplicable is that? That's beautiful.
Across the board. Yep. And I say that, like, we were so blessed to have BNI conference was in Houston this year. And I had someone message and go, how is this going to help us? And I said, take the name off the paper. Like, when you're talking, it was on retention. Like, when you're talking about retaining BNI members. How do you retain your employees? How do you retain your members of your Rotary organization? How do you retain the members of your Lions Club or your volunteer fire department or any volunteer led anything? How are we focused on retention? What does that look like?
Right.
For some businesses, it's going to look like we have a lot of money and budget for that. And then you have volunteer civic organizations that have very limited, if any, funds for that. There's very little.
Yeah, people stay in those for life because they believe in it.
Yes.
And maybe there is
Sometimes.
and then maybe there is that secondary gain. I mean, like Rotarians for life or a member of a church for life. Yeah, but there is that secondary gain at times because, there's that human response.
Yeah, people will pivot if they don't feel appreciated.
Yes.
And so I think if we were to take some of that, and it is simple, you don't need $1 million budget in your line item to retain good people.
Right.
You just need some power to go, they're really doing a great job and I want to make sure they feel appreciated. What does that look like? For everybody, it's different. Some people just want a good word. I mean, I always say this, the 5 love languages. What are those 5 things? Because it's not just about the relationship as a couple. It's what's that relationship look like with your kids, with your teammates, with your leadership, colleagues in other organizations, because you have a lot of people that will work their tail off for free for you. And all you have to do is say, man, I really couldn't do this without you. Really appreciate it.
And there's a deposit in that tank for the book. 5 love languages. Love it.
Yes.
So that's great.
That is.
Thank you for sharing that. It's obvious that you have quite a passion for that and for growth and leadership. I love it.
Yeah. And you mentioned the people a lot. I appreciate that too. I mean, it's really about the people. It's not about the organization as much.
People.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
It's the people.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned G&G Enterprises.
Yes.
So tell the folks what that is.
So G&G Enterprises is a locally owned commercial and industrial contracting company. So we build commercial buildings, and we do commercial buildings behind the gates of the industrial world. And we also do some maintenance and some other things behind the gate industrial. So
very good. So where is G&G located and where's your primary business market?
So our business market is Southeast Texas. I was strategic in securing 5 counties for BNI on typically the 5 counties and a little bit beyond. We serve a bigger radius than what I own for the BNI franchise, but we serve all the way up to the Jasper and the Lakes, down all of Southeast Texas, all the way from Chambers County, all the way over to the Louisiana border. But we have an office in Beaumont, I have an office in Orange, and we have an office in Port Arthur. So we have multiple locations, and every single job site is outfitted with a job trailer that I jokingly tell our team to set up like the Taj Mahal. So they have desk and internet, and we have the TV. We're set up with technology. And so, for our teams to be able to be effective and efficient in their jobs, we try to give them the tools that they need to do that. So working on with it, multiple programs and different things to help our team be more effective and efficient and feel accomplished in their day. So,
So do you take those BNI principles, not to belabor BNI, because our audience will probably get tired of hearing that, but do you take those principles and apply them to leadership growth within G&G, or did it just so happen that BNI matched what you were already doing, so you felt it a good fit for that to become a part of your life? How did you marry that? Being in BNI and G&G, how did they marry together?
So my role in G&G initially was to be in charge of the marketing for G&G. The networking and marketing. And networking, they don't teach you that in college. No. They call it sales. It's a bit different. I'm not selling cell phones. Like, I'm a service-driven industry. And a lot of times we're competitive bid on things, and that is what it is. But BNI really taught me how to talk about G&G without talking about G&G, because no one wants to hear about G&G. I mean, you have some that do, but generally speaking, like, no one showed up today and wants me to knock on their door and give them a 15-minute spiel about how awesome G&G is. I could go on and on about how awesome G&G is and our team and how amazing the people we have and all the things, but they don't want to hear that, because they're busy and they don't, and they might not be looking to build. So, it's not really an interest there. So I was actually invited to BNI through another member. And I just fell in love with the concept of helping people, and B&I really allowed me to come into our business and grow organically and do it through helping other people. So I know that sounds like, man, how did you do that? Does it take time? Yes, because I didn't know a lot of people in Beaumont. I didn't know. I was working behind the scenes for many years doing accounting, and we were a small business running, with, 10 employees at the time. And, as we made the move and opened an office, actually here on the 7th floor in Essen Plaza, just so you know, right around the corner. And so it was literally like Colin, me, and our project manager. And we joke now because the same project manager is with us. He's been with us 17 years this year. And I'm like, remember that time when we had this office and I would see you all the time? And it was like having my brother work for me, really. Right. I'm like, oh, you're like the younger, just a couple of years younger brother that I didn't ask for. It's so great, So we kind of joke like that. Yeah. But B&I really just allowed me to grow the business organically and to help people. And I really had to figure out what value I brought to the business, because I don't know construction like Colin has all these years of construction. So it's a bit intimidating to walk into a business that he knows so well and the rest of our team in the field knows so well. So I had to figure out how I could be a part of that and how I could help us grow. And be able to be involved in the community, because for us, it's about not just building great buildings. We want to build communities, and we don't want to pop in and just build a building and then walk out. Like, our goal is to help whoever that business is be successful and to build Southeast Texas. So when I see a resume that comes across and I have a client or I know of somebody, I'm like, oh my gosh, here's a resume I saw and thought. Simple little things that make a difference. So
we'll learn more about you and Colin in a moment, but just for the sake of our audience, did you and Colin start this business, or did you marry into this business? Because G&G, obviously, there's two. I presume that's last name. Yes. Okay.
So G&G was a company that his father and a business partner started in 1986. Okay. So Colin and I have owned the business on our own since 2005, 2006. And we kind of hit the ground running. When we purchased the business, it was Colin and one superintendent, a helper, and an office person. And it was like 3 or 4 team members, and that was all. And then we just grew slowly. About 2012 was one of, we had a larger project, like a $12 million expo center there in Orange County. And then in 2015, really in July of 2014 is when we actually had our lease here, but we kicked off marketing in January of 2015 is when we started really marketing our business in Beaumont. And it's been a really good move for us. I found B&I in 2014. I'd kind of gotten in, and I spend a lot of time trying to build those relationships. I'm not looking for the eggs. I'm looking for the chickens. Like, I'm trying to build strong roots here. And to do that, I can't be out selling all day to everybody. So I'm really focused on building relationships and bringing value to a relationship. So it's not just me looking for a job. Like, I'm looking to also bring value to you. I want you to trust that if you need help, I'm going to help you. And I may or may not end up with the job. But my goal is to be a resource to you. So if you have a client, and you're a real estate agent, and you're going out showing someone a building, I also struggle with this. I struggle with looking at something and going, what could it be? For me, I'm like, let's just take out that pole and take out that wall. Well, if we did that, the thing would collapse, right? Whereas when you have somebody who really knows what they're doing and understands, like, you can't remove that, but we could do X, Y, and Z with it, right? When you have somebody that can give you some options, I need a few options. I don't need the whole paint wheel. I need a few options, because otherwise it's overwhelming to me. And then I'm like, ugh, that's too much work. But I still want input, right? And so it's like that balance of being able to be a resource to them and to educate people. What I find is we have a lot of people that make decisions that this isn't their expertise. If they see on the do-it-yourself shows, the DIY, and it's done in 3 days. Like, why are you not done already? And it's like, it's not. We have permits and we have other things happening around here. And you're working with design and you're working with materials, and that certain material is not adaptable here, or the weather, the humidity, whatever the case is. And so we just spend a lot of time educating our clients and potential clients on, I'd rather bid against an equal comparison versus you walking through going, these are the things I'm bidding on. I'm walking through going, these are the things I'm bidding on. You're going through going, these are the things I'm bidding on. And then the client chooses the lowest number, but it doesn't achieve their vision.
Gotcha.
Because they think, they tend to stick with that lower number, but then you end up as a client, I want you to have an all complete package. 100%. This is what I want. And I want you to walk away happy, because a lot of clients that we serve here, they might only build one time in their lifetime. But the bigger goal for me is for them to be happy and to refer us and to maintain a relationship to where we can help educate them on construction and what's up and coming, and trying to make those mutually beneficial relationships for them, much like I apply that from B&I. So if I'm thinking about a florist coming in, I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to meet our event planner, and you need to meet the balloon person, and you need to meet the party rental person, because they all serve the same client. And so trying to bring some value like that.
Right.
So if you don't mind, I hear something really fascinating through your stories and the description of what you do and how you do it. And I love it because I see a lot of my own life in your descriptions. And what I see, and I want you to tell me if I'm wrong, is you found yourself in a place that you weren't sure where you fit in this picture, building buildings. So you knew you had something in you to offer, and that was building people, and that was building relationships. And then you just figured out where that fit in the grand scheme of the whole thing.
Yep.
And you parlayed that specialty that you possess into the networking experience and caused it to, rather than just build buildings, you built a whole community.
Yes. I wanted to be an event planner. So when I met Colin, I wanted to be an event planner. So I will tell people I had to find how to have my own fund. So I serve on multiple boards. But for me, that nonprofit world is serving the community, but it is building people and building their business. I think we have this, because of social media, I just had this conversation this morning where someone said, build it and they'll come. Because, as a business owner, I see a need. So I'm going to go out and build this business, and I'm going to open my doors, and I'm going to have rent, and I'm going to have all these things. I'm just going to build it and they will come. But then they only want to rely on social media. Well, I went to an education through B&I. One of the very first educations I went on, it was the national director at the time, and he's a brilliant man, been in B&I, second generation in B&I, is brilliant. And he said, if our friends and family used us, we would never have to market our business. But then he said, why do they not use us? Is it because they don't like you? Is it because they don't like your kids at the family holidays? Is it because they think your breath stinks? Like, why don't they like you? Well, the reality of it is they don't not like you. They just don't know what you do. Like, they get up every day thinking about themselves, thinking, I need to find a red dot. I need a red dot, and I'm only looking for red dots. So if I don't teach them that I need a purple dot, then they're only ever going to be looking for red. So I have to teach them I don't need to teach them what I'm doing. I need to teach them what I'm looking for. So once they know I'm looking for purple, then they can look for red and purple.
Yeah.
And then if you need green, I'm probably going to be looking for red, purple, and I'll be more attentive when I hear these green things. Like, now I'm like, oh my gosh, I know a guy that could help you. Right. So it's that training of things. And I think as a business owner, we get so caught up in, oh my gosh, I love to bake cakes, I'm going to go open up a bakery.
Right.
But we don't think about, if I'm going to have a retail storefront, I'm going to have to be open, and I have to be there from this time to this time. And we have this thing called Uncle Sam, and we have to pay our taxes. And guess what? It's not just IRS taxes.
That's
you
right.
have sales tax and franchise taxes and employee taxes. And now you have meetings with CPAs, and oh my gosh, there's a cost there too. And we underestimate, much like buying a home. Oh my gosh, I bought a home. It fits in my budget. And then we don't anticipate, oh my God, I'm 13 months in, because it's always 13 months after your 1-year warranty's up. Then the air conditioner goes out. Oh my gosh. much. What do you mean it's $7,500 for a new AC unit, right?
Yeah.
So running a business is the same way. You spend very little time getting to do the things you love about why you opened your doors.
Yes.
And every aspect, you mentioned the 5 love languages earlier, but there are the 5 languages to everything.
Everything.
And you, as a business owner, you have to proactively think of the languages that your customers think in, the languages that your business operates in from every angle, just like you were saying. And that is so hard for people so often.
Well, they get out and they're looking for, I will say this based on one of my most favorite best mentors is the chicken and the egg. We spend all of our time looking for eggs. We never, ever think about collaboration. We're so busy trying to be competitive that would rather compete with 15 people in this market and add things on and spread ourselves so thin than to collaborate.
That's right.
Yeah, because then I'm trying to do everything and I'm great at nothing.
And we espouse those same principles, not the adding, but what you're talking about, specializing and then collaborate.
Specialize then and then collaborate and allow someone else to be successful with you. Oh my gosh, it's
help
so
them
shocking,
be successful
right?
without you.
Help them, allow them, take their strengths.
Right.
It's so foreign.
One of my favorite things is when people reach out to me, having done this for about 3 decades, and they'll ask, do I do something? And if I don't, then who? And thank goodness, like you said, I've collaborated with, and now have confidence in people who are in this building also, that I can send them straight to their office. And it almost always works out. As a matter of fact, very rarely do I hear that it doesn't. Almost so much can't remember the last time. Yeah, because I know that's going to happen. I don't need to do what they do. It doesn't benefit me, and it's definitely not going to benefit the folks who call. But what a credibility bump.
Yep.
And
it's not about you, it's about what's best for the client. And that's what I tell people. I can try to figure that out with you, or I can send you to somebody who already, that's what they do. That's their specialty. That's their forte. Like, why would I not? I'd rather, it's no different than if someone calls us, even a client will call and go, hey, I just need a roof. I'm like, well, you don't need me to get a great roof. Let me send you a qualified roofer. Now, if you come to me and you want 3 or 4 or 5 things, you have all this stuff going on and you're operating a business and, you have things going on that you definitely need, that's different. But if you just called and said, hey, we have this hailstorm came in, I need a roof. You need a good roofer. Right. You don't need me to charge. I mean, if you're adamant about it, that's one thing, but I really am not interested in overcharging you because you called and you don't know what you don't know. I would rather send you someone qualified. I know it's going to take care of you. Now I do follow up and say, hey, how's it going? On both parts.
Sure.
And I want to make sure that they're getting taken care of, but I wouldn't refer somebody who wouldn't take care of you.
Right.
The same way I would take care of you. But there's no reason for me to be selfish and greedy and say, that's an easy money maker for me.
Right.
You're going to sacrifice the quality that they deserve by doing that. You wouldn't go to your family doctor to get cataract surgery.
No.
Right.
You'd go to a ophthalmologist.
Yes.
Well, and as a GC, my responsibility there is making sure what most people don't understand is I'm overseeing, because you don't know what you don't know.
That's
that concrete person is saying, yeah, I'm giving you exactly what you paid for, but you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes I say this too, people only know what they know. So I don't think that other subs or other GCs come in, because in the state of Texas, you're not licensed. So when people come in and go, oh, we compete with G&G, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting, because we have competitors, incredibly talented, longtime business owners, very reputable, doing a lot of the same stuff that we're doing. That thankfully, we live in an area, there's plenty of work for everyone. Right. But you have people that come in that think, oh, they're our competitors, but they're not bidding the government work. They're not bidding the work that requires us to have certain things with that. So it's not always even in that way, but we just do our best to make sure that everything is done, and that insurance, there's protection there. So most people don't realize there's a problem until there's a problem, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you have somebody even in your home and they get hurt, guess what? They can sue you.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and that's a real deal. So a lot of our responsibility as a general contractor is to work on a team to help that job get from point A to point B in the best way possible and the safest way possible, cohesively working together as a team to get the best product for our owner. We're constantly looking out for our owner, working with an architect, working with the team of the owner. It's that triangle of us working together. It's not me against this person and we're fighting and we're trying to, then we smile when we see the owner. Like it is really a reciprocal, hey, we need to do X, Y, and Z, or hey, we see a problem. We like to be proactive, and man, that's not what's on paper can't be done in the field. We need to pivot, or it's going to cause a delay, and that holds up our owner, right? So not to say you don't have, you do, you have all the things, but we really do try to work with everyone. We work with a lot of local subcontractors, so our choices are to grow a larger business than outgrow them or we want to educate them too. We want them to be able to build strong teams and to show up on time and have a schedule. And we want them to be successful, and they should be able to make a good living and to supply for their team, much like we want to contribute and have the benefit to give our team the things that we do. So it's really that team centered, which is, again, they do it begrudgingly sometimes, or with them always in the back of their mind. I can give you the best example I can give you that happened most recently was an insurance thing. We had the ability to save major money for us. And one of the questions that we asked was, is it going to cost our team any more money? Like, that's what I want to see. If it can save us money and them money, we're down. But if it's going to save us money, but cost them money, we're not down, because it doesn't, we could continue to pay what we're paying. That was an option too, was to continue to do what we're doing and everybody stays the same. But we were able to save money and save the money, which was a benefit, right? But if it's a benefit to only me,
then it's not right.
It's not right. That's the thing we try to do.
It won't sustain at that point.
No.
Yeah, because
our people won't appreciate that.
They won't. And at some point, if that unappreciation has a pivot point, we're going to lose talent. I mean, you have to think down that trail a bit.
It doesn't impact us. It's not like we paid more money, and we will pay more money if we can, right? If that is in the budget, whatever. But I'm saying in general, we were going to pay what we were going to pay. I could stay the same, keep it the same for my people. Or if I save money, the cost expense was on them, that's not a win for us. It was a win if both of us won. Otherwise, we were going to keep it the same.
So there's your triangle, both, the company, our people, and the insurance company. For sure. We all came out
Everybody came out winners.
There you go.
Yeah. But that's a much like with our architects and our owners, or whoever's in that equation. We really work hard to make sure that that it's full circle, and that we do recognition, and we do a lot of the things for not just our people, our internal team, but our external team, because most of what we do benefits an entire community, an entire Southeast Texas. It's not just a little city within Southeast Texas. It is Southeast Texas. So when you're building for a bank or a credit union, those banks and credit unions are rooted here, doing fabulous things with teams that are on boards and serving across Southeast Texas. So what we get to do through BNI and G&G is really just develop people and immerse ourselves in a community that it's the people. People ask us why Beaumont, why Southeast Texas, why? And it's the people. The people here are tremendous.
It's wonderful.
So I caught two things there. I want to go back to something you said, because a lot of the people in the audience are entrepreneurial. They may be dreaming of entering the entrepreneur world, or they're already in it. And that the thing you talked about why don't your family do business with you? I want to ask you a question and see what you think about it. Is it possible that the concept of familiarity also plays into that? Because as a universal principle, familiarity breeds contempt. Have you ever discussed that in any way? The more a person is familiar with another person, the less they believe in their ability, oftentimes, to do what they want or need done. So often, and I can give personal experience, I had a construction company, not construction, but I had a land clearing, heavy equipment and stuff like that business before.
It's in the industry.
Yes.
Yeah.
And often I would find out that my family had something done, and I would have done it for them for nothing.
Right.
But they hired someone else to do it because they didn't even think of me.
Yeah.
Because they were family and they didn't really see me as that type of a resource. They didn't necessarily believe in what I was doing as part of my identity, as who I was.
I think sometimes people just don't, a couple of things on that. So I think there are lots of things that, first of all, I just think people are afraid to have conversations. So, and I say that to say there are people in our area that to this day will go, oh, G&G Enterprises, they are so expensive. And I'm like, interesting, because, competitively bidding stuff, when we competitively bid something, I looked at our close ratio, was like 98.4, 98.7%. So
it's pretty high.
I would say we're pretty competitive, so I'm not the most expensive in town. I think we're the most well-rounded, meaning like from start to finish. I think that we do our very best to, I'm not going to change order you to death. That happens in our industry. The industry is known like, oh, you think it's the cheapest price, but I guarantee by the end of the project, it's not the cheapest price. And that depends on what kind of contract. There's lots of different things on how people can, in our industry-wide, you just have that stigma, unfortunately, that you're constantly battling. But I think from a family standpoint, we don't do a good job of educating our family on what we do. And I would treat our family much like I treat my B&I team. I would love for you to use me, but if you don't, that's okay. But I really want to know who you know.
Yeah.
So I really want you to know what I do so that when you're out and about, and depending on who they are and what is their role, they all work somewhere typically, or they're in a part of a church, or if you're a baseball parent, then you are immersed amongst people all day, every weekend at these tournaments. Like, it's really in knowing how to network. I call it B&I without them even knowing you're B&I, right? Like, so you're really just educating them, and some will, some won't. So what? And I tell people, don't get caught up in it. I can sit and have hurt feelings because someone went with someone else, or I can go, you know what? It just wasn't meant to be. And that's okay. But I don't view it as a them problem. I view it as a me problem. Like, I should have done a better job of educating you on what I've done. And I would encourage people to don't do a friend or family discount. Like, I'm not meaning that ugly. I'm not saying don't help people out, but you work hard and cover your expenses and show. I mean, it's one thing to give because they're in a situation and need the help. It's another thing for me to go to them and go, I want the friend discount. I have lots of friends that own businesses, and I don't ever go in there and go, well, name drop and throw their name around for a discount. Like, no, I go in and I pay the price.
That's devaluing.
Right. Like, I go in and I pay the price.
What's supposed to be your friend.
I go in and I pay the price.
Right.
Like, it is what it is.
Right.
And so, I'm going to trust that.
Which is a value
that's
message.
who I need to use because they're the best at what they do.
Right.
I have a friend that's a doctor, and one of Colin's childhood friends growing up, and we never go in there and go, I mean, that's our best friend. Why am I not paying? Why is he charging me? Well, because he has a business to run, guys.
Yes.
Because he has insurance, because he has employees, and because he has a building that he pays a note on, or he's remodeled, or because he's marketing, because he has a business to run.
And if you're their friend, don't you want to be proud that you use them to their fullest capacity and paid them a fair price?
I want them to be successful.
Yes.
Now, that doesn't mean that you have to do, everybody's different in their own. And if you said, hey, for friends and family, you see retail do it all the time. It's our friends and family weekend, depending on what service you have.
Yeah.
But, I want the benefit to be able to give back to a nonprofit in a way that I want to. I want to make that decision. I don't want to be told to make that decision.
Right.
And I think that is a difference. So I would just tell people in business, like, run it like a business, because all of a sudden you have all these friends you didn't even know about. And if I'm going to do something for someone, it's going to be someone that I would probably, leave my kids to, or if I called in a dire emergency, there's someone I would trust with my life.
Yeah.
It's probably not the people who think they're my friends who want a discount, if that makes sense. Like,
absolutely.
Like, all of a sudden, all these people that are like your BFFs, and it's like, then you're just working to what? Keep the doors open. I mean, cover your overhead. Like you can't run a business like that. So I mean that with sincerity in that support your people, but I will also be the friend. If I go into a retail spot, if I go into a restaurant, I will text somebody and say, hey, I had a different experience today. I don't know if such and such was in a bad mood or what, but might want to check on them, or if I've gone in 2 or 3 times and it's been the same, I'm a little concerned at that point. Now I'm really going to be like, hey, I've been in the last few times and might need to brush up on this because I want them to be successful.
Right.
I'm not on, I call my little keyboard cowboys. I'm not on there blasting them on, social media going, that terrible service.
Right.
Anonymous. That's my favorite. Anonymous.
Yeah, I
Put your name behind it.
I can remember being with people who I guess I could call family, still to some point. And I say, the manager needs to know this. They're not even here because they can't be there all the time.
Right.
And so I will either ask for a name or leave a message and go, hey, most was good. Just so you know, I saw this, or this happened, or you may not know, but when you're not in this part of the restaurant, this is what your staff is doing. And they're like, oh, and I've never had a time someone wasn't thankful. Yes. Say thank you.
And I'm not trying to get someone in trouble.
Absolutely
like I strictly want you.
Yes.
I'm different in that I'm going to come back and try it again. There are some people that think they're going to go in on week 3 of a business or week 6 of a business, and it's going to be they're firing on all cylinders at all day, all the time, and that's
not
just not life.
That's right.
I don't fire on all cylinders all day. I mean, today what I said, man, I'm falling into a Monday, because I literally fell, and I have a choice to make. I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like, but I have to, get myself out of the funk. Right.
Yes.
And so I think as a business owner, we're going to have off days.
Right.
But I have a team and I work very closely with my team. And some days, I have to go in and go, I was clearly having an off moment and I really took it out on you. And I'm sorry. Yeah. But most of the time we know that. And most of the time, I think we assume someone else knows that. And I think that's our biggest misstep is that I have to be big enough, girl, to go, I'm really sorry.
That was on me.
And they'll be like, no, I know. No. I don't want you to know. I want you to know that I'm aware that I was a jerk or I spoke out of context or I was just frustrated with whatever was happening over here that I spoke too soon. I wasn't thinking. I got a little loud. Whatever the case is, Right. So, and I don't ever do anything like, number one, don't cuss at your people.
No.
Don't cuss at them. Don't embarrass them in front of people. There are things you just don't do that if you fall off, like you owe them like apology.
Right.
Because you'll never get them to trust you if that is how you behave to them.
Certainly.
Right.
Even as simple as raising your voice. You and I've been friends for years. That was a conversation that all of us have had. I stopped yelling at my children unless it was an emergency. I don't know where I heard that, but that was one step in the right direction that just kept going. And I think things got tremendously better. But that was because I was a coach. I had to yell. I had to be louder than the gym.
You felt like
louder than the gym.
Yeah. And so to get some kid's attention, but it didn't work real well.
It doesn't work.
The people I wanted to trust me, which would be family. But once you make those few, I guess you could say those humbling moments, they go, that was on me.
Yeah.
Boy, things can change tremendously.
Yeah. And I think family is, we have family that is on our team and that you have to navigate that. But again, you have to take the name off the paper and you have to run a business. And I think that we forget about that part and we get so into our feelings about it that it's like, oh, if I do that, then X. And, I'm a real big one on you have to run the business part of it and you have to lay out expectations. And if you do anything for family, it's even more important to make sure you're following your process and you are, your expectations are laid out. Yeah. So I do that. I have people that are in BNI that I've been friends with for years. And I have membership committees that will call and go, well, we haven't really had a conversation with them because we know that you're their friend. And I was like, okay. And
so
my expectations are the same.
That's right.
They're, I want them to be successful.
And they expect those things. They expect those expectations.
Yes.
I
give them zero information that tells them any different. Right. So if you are telling them something different that I'm not saying then that's on you.
Mhm.
Let's fix it because I want them to be successful.
Right.
And they're not going to be if we have no conversations and you're just letting them run off the
Right.
bridge
Right.
continuously with no feedback. Like we have to give them, I want them to be successful.
There you
So,
go. There you go.
Absolutely. So based on what I was hearing there, you never miss an opportunity to show humility or gratitude.
Ever.
That's good.
Ever.
That's very
Let's talk a little bit about arguably probably the toughest job that you've ever had. We're going to say marriage and family. So we keep mentioning Garrett. How long have you guys been married?
So Colin and I have been
I'm sorry,
married.
Colin.
You've been
Colin,
heard
yeah.
about all of
Yes.
that.
Colin and I have been married 23 years in August.
Nice.
It's a long time.
Nice.
August what?
16th.
Nice. Okay.
We're the 11th. August
Okay.
11th.
Yeah.
That's my brother and sister-in-law. They've been married a year longer than us.
There we go.
But yeah, so
22.
I would definitely tell you marriage and kids and family is definitely the best job title that I have.
There you go.
Most rewarding and probably the toughest,
Mhm.
I would say. I think it's only the toughest because it's the most important to me. You know,
Right.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
it's the most important
Holds
to
the
me.
most
That
value.
is the
Yes.
most successful thing in my life is my marriage and my family. Then I'm
Okay.
good to go. Everything else is great, but that's the priority. And then of course we work together and live together, and I have a business.
You do all of
coach.
life
Yes,
together.
we do all of life together. You know, contrary to what people believe, I remember early on when I was in the business, they're like, well, you know, when you see Colin, I was pretty convinced they thought we rode around the vehicle together. And I finally one day I said, listen, I'm not like riding around sitting in his lap all day just to enlighten him with what's going on with my day. It turns out like he's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing.
Yes.
We might get to discuss it during the day. Chances are pretty good that's not going to happen. So
Right.
we'll probably talk about it after we get home, after we get our kids to bed, and after
Right.
we can kind of breathe for a minute, right?
Right.
And so then you catch yourself on that, like, okay, God, now we're home and we're not even like dating now. We're just work all the time. So you have to kind of reel that in.
Yeah.
But no, it's great. Like 23 years we've been through. I tell everybody you're not growing if you're not having struggles,
Mhm.
and you have to recognize that and know what that is and have that conversation and make it a priority, you know? We date. I know that's shocking to people, but you
No, I
know,
love
I mean,
it.
you go on a date, even
Yeah.
if it's a dinner, or it's gotten easier as our kids have gotten older, but
Okay.
as your kids get older, it's harder to like, because now I have one in high school that plays sports here, and then I have two in college, and we like to go visit our kids at college, but it doesn't happen
Of
as
course,
often.
yeah.
And then we have this, you're trying to date each other, and then we have this 15-year-old that's playing like, you know, we're juggling all the things like everyone else. So
Right.
some days we're on it, and some days we could use some help, right? It just is what it is.
Right. You're human.
But
Yeah.
you know,
I'm
but we
glad-
love it.
Thank you for sharing some, because y'all's relationship is unique. I don't know if we've had any, if too many, that actually work together. Yeah. Now we've had a lot of dual income families, but not in that unique
And we
scenario.
work together every day.
What an extraordinary challenge to keep relationship,
Yeah.
you know, and then also boundary out some of those things that we don't want at this dinner. This is not about this dinner. This
Well,
is
and
about
sometimes
us.
we have to tell each other that, like, that's
Yeah.
not, my head's not there. I'm not here to talk about that right now.
Yeah.
Like, can we talk about that later? Can we,
Right.
I mean, some things we just have to handle, right? And other times, but it's a lot of grace. Thank the good Lord. We have a lot of grace. And thankfully I have a man that in my life that is open to doing it different. He's not so I am man, hear me roar that we have to, I don't need a counselor, or I don't need to listen, or I don't, he's very receptive, and he does like to talk, like, meaning he's one of those, if something's going on he wants to talk about right now, and I'm the complete, of course, opposite of that, because why would I want to talk about it right now?
Right.
You want to
So
process it.
sometimes, I mean, who knows, how us women are, sometimes I'm just,
If I knew how y'all women
Thank
are,
you.
I would be in the trouble.
Easier,
I'm
right?
in.
Yes.
Yeah.
so
That's why we're recording this. We're trying to learn.
Yeah, we have our things, and I think that we do a good job of good balance, because he and I are a lot alike. So we have the exact same love languages, which is weird in the order and all the things. So we like quality time, we like words of affirmation, we like touch, like just that pat on the back. There's just that certain thing that he could when we are in the office, he never leaves that office with at least a wave. If I have somebody in my office or coming in to tell me goodbye, even if I'm on a Zoom, I will pause it and give him a kiss and tell him go have a great meeting or
That is
whatever. Like
beautiful,
that's just a small little way that
Means
but
everything.
it's important.
Yeah.
And so I think there are things. We do have a business coach that's been incredible in our business. We've had a lot of growth in short years. And so I laughingly will say, you're my business therapist, because like you keep us happily married and our business is on the right track. And kind of that third party that's outside that can give us some feedback, because we have a lot more knowledge on other industries and business and succession plans and org charts and, all the things, all that stuff that people like to talk about when I talk about building a business and all the things you don't think about that aren't building buildings, right? It's all the other stuff.
Right.
But yeah, so we've been super blessed with 3 healthy kiddos and 2 in college. Adrian will graduate in December.
All right.
She's applying to graduate school.
Okay.
And then Gavin's at A&M as well. So both are at A&M. And he is a junior by hours, the co-sci major. So he'll be coming home to work this summer. And then Grandma's in high school, so finishing up freshman year. So they're great kids. We are blessed. We are blessed with good kids. I was sitting on an airplane one day, and a lady said something to me that she has a stepdaughter, and I was like, well, I have teenagers, and they're fun. They're old things. She said, well, I bet they're better than mine. And I was like, well, I'm sure, because me. I'm like, well, I mean, teenagers are teenagers, and they're like, well, mine stole a car and got picked up by that. I was like, well, yeah.
So mine are better.
I think you hit it right. Yeah.
Turn to call it and high five.
That's right. We did it. Yes. That's right.
So, we joke and cut up, but, we really are, we have issues like everyone else. We just have different issues and how we handle them. Sure. I just told Colin last night, I was like, I just got through telling one of our kiddos, like, I'm raising a man, and a man does these things. So this is what I'm doing. Like, so we have things happening like everyone else. And so, but we are blessed with great kids, and they're kind. Most important to me is that they're kind and they're helpful and they're respectful. And that is the feedback I get from others. I haven't really had anybody call me and tell me anything different. So if they're out there misbehaving, please call and let me know. I will be on it. What we joke, I'm a big animal lover. And so when the first 2 started driving, by the second one, Colin was like, wow, these kids keep coming home with animals. And I was like, well, the good news is that I'm a big Dateline watcher. For those of you that don't know me well, I love me some Dateline. And 48 Hours. I'm just mesmerized.
You're sounding a lot like my wife.
Well, Colin's like, can I go to bed to something a little bit more happy? And I'm like, listen, no. I'm just mesmerized by people's stupidity and all the things. But
I thought she was plotting against me. Maybe she's
all of you guys think that, but we're really just mesmerized by people's stupidity and like, oh, okay. Yeah. But I laughed because he's like, these kids keep coming home with like a kitten or a dog that someone has dumped, because we have a terrible issue with that in Southeast Texas. And I just said, well, the good news is that we didn't raise a serial killer. Okay. So, we did.
There's a plug.
That's always my joke.
The silver lining.
We are raising kids with big hearts and love animals, and they all are. They're all big, kind, hearted kids, and we're just blessed beyond measure. For sure. Them, really.
And they're active and productive. What a joy that parents are. That's right. To be graduating and or near graduation and for the pursuit.
When we get them off the payroll and they're fun, I'll let you know, Chuck. We're not there yet. But we will definitely be high-fiving and celebrating their success. Right. So they're good kids. They are. I tell them all the time. I was like, I remember, and someone had asked me how to do it. And I said, every day when I drop them off at school, now Colin drops Graham off every morning, but I would always say, be kind, because your worst day might be someone else's best day.
There you go.
So if you always have that mindset, then you're always kind, always be nice. Yes. And Colin in school was friends with everybody, and I was friends with everybody. So it's like, I never had that cliquish. I wasn't mean to people. And Colin definitely was not either. And so that's always been important, that our kids would be nice to everybody and be inclusive, include people in things.
There you go.
So
there you go.
So you've talked about your kids, and you got a lot to be proud of there. You're very fortunate. Where were you born?
I was born in Terre Haute, Indiana.
Terre Haute, Indiana. The only reference to Terre Haute, Indiana in my mind is from the movie A Christmas Story.
Okay.
Ralphie mentions Terre Haute somewhere in the movie. We watched that thing. That movie sits on a loop every Christmas at our
Okay.
house, and it has since I was a kid.
Oh, wow.
My parents used to play it, so I have it pretty well memorized.
Okay.
That's awesome.
But-
Terre Haute. Yep.
Yeah,
So I was born in Terre Haute. My biological mom, she married someone from Mississippi. So I was like 6 or 7, moved to Mississippi. And then when I was 9, we made the move to Texas. So quick rundown version of our story is at 14, I ended up in foster care.
at
So,
14.
At 14.
That
Yeah,
is
I
a
just
late
turned
age to be in
14.
foster
So
care.
I was in foster care all through like junior high and high school. I turned 18 as a ward of the state and lived in a group home. And so I met a great family who just worked all through high school. That was part of the group home. If you were in school, you had to have a part-time job. If you weren't in school, you had a full-time job. But I had a part-time job and went to school, started college. And college is great. As a ward of the state, your college tuition is paid for, but your books are not, and your living is not. And so, guess what? It costs money. So I worked through school, and I ended up transferring into A&M. And Colin and I met after college. So a lot of people think, oh, you met at A&M because you both went to A&M, but we met after school. He graduated in August. I graduated in May, and we met in June through a mutual acquaintance friend at the time.
Okay.
But yeah, so I've worked my whole life really just, I don't know. People were like, how did you do it? I'm like, I don't know. I just had my nose to the ground.
Yeah.
I knew what I didn't want to do. And I'm very much type A. I'm very much a rule follower. And I just knew that that's what I was going to do. So that's what I've done, is just worked. And so that's why it's important for my kids I want them to go and have a college experience because they have the rest of their life to work, but they have to be responsible and have a little fun. But I'm raising well-rounded people. I think the benefit I have of being in business is that I want a well-rounded child, because to grow up and to be a well-rounded young adult that is a well-rounded employee and a team member, because you can be the smartest person, but if you don't have people skills, you're probably not going to do well with what people are hiring now.
Right.
And so I use that a lot with them. I'm like, I want you to go have fun, but I also want you to stay focused. And I didn't get to do a lot of that because I worked. And A&M was a commuter campus for me. So I drove to work. I drove to school, was there for 8 a.m. class. I went to school until noon, and then I worked until 5, and then I studied, and then I went back and did it all again every day. So I worked full time and went to school.
Right. Busy life.
You became an independent thinker at a pretty early age.
Yes.
Yeah. If I didn't, then he was going to think for me.
Right.
The state.
Right.
I have to
which
think
wasn't
for
an
myself.
option.
Yeah.
And I see that you also, and probably you and Colin both, translated that same well-roundedness even into your business. Like it's at the fourth child, that we are raising, and so now you bringing in all this talent and all these other things, and what's not good for our business, good and not good, and all those kind of decisions.
Yes, we love to pour into our team. I think we can only do so much, just us, and that's what I tell our team members. So I encourage them to serve on boards, to be involved on a committee, to serve on a nonprofit, or serve at their school district where their kids are, or organizations that their kids are involved in.
Right.
A lot of people don't get the opportunity to do that, but what I know is that when you challenge someone to serve at a different level, then it builds leadership skills for them, and they come back and utilize that in our business. Right. And so I need our people to be personally happy and healthy, because when they're personally healthy and happy, then that translates into their professional world. Not to say everybody's going to have things, but we do our best to stay in our lane, but also to afford them the ability to do things that they're passionate about, and to serve. We have several that have taken to higher education that are serving on a board level or serving on a committee level, they're just so gracious to be able to have the opportunity to do that, have the opportunity to participate. Some of them are at a situation in their life where they're juggling blended families and they're all over the place. But if they get the opportunity to go to we're heavily involved with the BBB Southeast Texas and the Education Foundation. I serve on the board of both of those, and the Education Foundation is mentoring in education. So I had 11 attend the Spark Leadership Summit. And they were just rave reviews about the opportunity and the things that they learned and the things that they were going to apply. And, I've challenged people to come back. I've kind of let some time go by. That was just a couple weeks ago, but I will send a follow-up and say, okay, how are you applying those things? Because much like anything else, we can go and learn, but then now what? If we don't ask, they just roll back to doing what's been done. So what was their biggest aha moment, and had they been able to utilize? And I already know the answer to that based on things that they're like, because there was a session on AI that I kid you not, people were like, giggles about, like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And so I already know they're like, man, after that, and they're like, oh, I thought I was too old, or maybe it wasn't industry specific, or it wasn't this and it wasn't that. And so, we're in the people business. Internally, we have an internal team of people. And, when we're in a group setting with our team and they're like, well, that's such and such is this. And I'm like, have you asked them? Have you talked to them? Well, no, I haven't. I've made the decisions all for them. I haven't had a word with them, but I think they would be best at the X. And I'm like, but they'd be miserable, right? Well, I guess. Well, maybe you might want to talk to them. We're in the people business. So how do we get the people to do what do they want to do? And is our vision in line with what they envision for their life, and we, we're in an industry where it's all different ages and it's all different. We have a lot of females on our team, and which is unusual in our industry wide, is 14% female in the construction industry, which is not very much. But we have a team of 16 females in our team of 70, right under like 73, 74 employees. So I'm proud of that.
Absolutely.
Because it's not the industry norm, and not just support teams. So we have people in the field in the female role. They bring a huge, tremendous value to the industry and their perspective and their attention to detail and the different strengths that they have. So it's a lot of fun to pour into them and to watch them excel. It just makes me happy. No different than my B&I members. I love it. I'm like, oh my God, when the light bulb goes off and they realize, yes.
Invaluable.
It's invaluable.
Yeah.
Yep. Because it's like educating somebody. You can't take away their education. I tell people that all the time.
Right.
Go get an education. Go pour into yourself, because no one can take that away from you. And then go apply it. Go teach someone else.
Right.
Apply it to what you're doing.
Sure.
Teach someone else.
Sure. Whatever it is, whether it's certified or licensing, or whether it's just, upgrading a skill. Like working on vehicles or something along those lines. At some point, you're gonna pay that forward.
Yes,
for sure. That's interesting. Probably there's some of those ladies that had no idea that they would probably ever end up in this industry.
Quite confident of that.
Yeah,
I love that.
I do too. And then all of a sudden they realize they can excel.
They said, "How did you end up here?" I said, I don't know, but I love it, and I love what we get to do. And I said I had to figure out. I'm happy planning events, and I get to do some of that in our business, but I have other responsibilities too, that, aren't always glamorous, but we make the most of it and have a lot of fun with it. And then I get to do the fun stuff. And then I'm involved on committees and on boards, and I do more of the plugging in and connecting people, which I love, and getting my team involved. It's just a huge, big wheel that we keep turning and pouring into the next generation with mentors. We have interns. We have an intern program, and that's a huge amount of fun, but it's just so fun to watch people grow.
Yes.
I love that.
I do too.
So I got a loaded question for you.
Okay. Well, scared.
You okay?
Okay.
No, it's a little cough. I'm good.
Are you a success?
I think.
Long pause. That was the longest pause in the whole.
I think so.
I definitely think that we are a success.
I didn't say we.
Yeah, I know that I'm a success.
There you go. I like that.
Do I talk about that? Probably not enough. And I don't take that lightly, and I'm not, I don't ever want our success as a company or my success as an individual to be, I will never take that for granted. And I don't like the perception of other people looking in. I want people to see it as like, don't let life circumstances hold you back, and don't let area or perception, like figure out what that is and how do we overcome that? How do we get people on the team to really push what our mission, our vision is? How do we get people on the team to move us forward? How do we collaborate? How do we collaborate with industries subcontractors and other people, the other GCs? How do we collaborate? So I would say, yes, I'm a success, but that is a hard sentence to say and be like, okay,
well, you did well by, I know you thought about it.
Yeah.
Your brain was running as you were anticipating the answer, but the answer was the explanation. If you do these things, that is success. And what I hear you saying is, yes, I believe I do those things. I do those things. I just encourage other people to do.
Yes.
Therefore, that's my definition.
Yeah. I try very hard to lead by example on the things, and I'm hopeful that the people that are watching us really know where it comes from and the why behind that.
Yes.
And it is a balance of being successful and then making sure that our next generation understands, not just my children, but we have a young generation of team members that will hopefully be here when I may be on a beach somewhere, maybe, right?
I hope so.
And so I want them to also know that I don't want them to work forever. I tell people that. I'm like, I don't want you to work forever. So invest in the 401k and I want you to be able to retire. I want you to be able to vacation. Like I'm intentful with saying you can't roll over 4 weeks of vacation. You need to have a mental break. Like we encourage that around our place, So I want them to see that we work hard and we work hard for what we have, but it's a team centered. We couldn't do what we do without them. So I need them to be healthy. I need them to be successful as well in whatever it is they're doing.
Right.
Because they tend to be the experts in that.
Yeah.
And I'm not an expert in everything. I just surround myself with great people and build more great people.
Sure.
And I hope that we're leading by example for other businesses to see. But
it isn't that leadership. I don't have to know it all. I surround myself with other people who are becoming experts.
Yes.
And then we did maybe the genius is in the collaboration, bringing all those things together.
There's a ton of opportunity in collaboration, like things you just don't think about.
Yes.
And it's exciting to see, come to fruition.
Is this the first time that you've shared your story?
I've shared my story probably twice. I think I spoke at Boys Haven years ago. And then when Tyler did a podcast, because he was more interested in where I came from. But and a little bit on the business stuff. And B&I has grown tremendously since in the last couple of years. So that's been a big blessing because I've only owned the franchise for 6 years. And so I've been a member of B&I much longer than that. So.
But do you hear what you do every time I focus about you? Do you hear it? You pivot slightly and you start talking about an organization or other people and the credit to them and how well they're doing or how well something else is doing. Does it bother you to talk about you and your personal achievements?
No, it doesn't bother me to talk about that. I just know that I wouldn't be who I am today without other people pouring into me.
And I agree with that entirely. But I got a challenge for you.
Okay.
Because there's somebody out there that's going to possibly hear this or see this, but they may not. But you may cross paths with them. And if they don't hear your story, they may miss an opportunity to be inspired to transform for their personal reinvention. So my challenge to you is seek every opportunity possible to tell your story because your story is powerful. Think about that. You told a story of transformation that could inspire generations and create legacy of mental wealth that may not ever exist otherwise.
Yeah.
You went from a 14-year-old orphan to a powerhouse of success. And you may not see yourself that way, and that's great. Yeah. That's fine. That's humility. Wonderful. Yeah. But you are a center of influence for an entire community. And you've admitted that that was your focus, your purpose was to build this community, not to build a company, not to necessarily build B&I, but to build this network of people building each other. Well, that's centered around you.
Yeah.
And it started when you were 14.
Yeah.
That story is beautiful. So that's my challenge to you. If you would accept that, I would feel as though I accomplished something in this interview today.
So I tell people I don't do large. I haven't been asked to do. I've never backed down from telling my story. People don't know or they don't ask me, but I speak more on where I'm from now. I think because as we become more successful, I think people's perception is oh, you wouldn't understand.
Right.
You don't know where
That's
you
right.
come from.
Oh,
and
it must be nice.
Must be nice.
I hate that.
I hate that.
Oh my
Too.
God.
I had that happen recently to a friend, and you know, and they're just like, God, if they only knew where they came from, you know, right? But even people like if they assume that they know and they don't know, and so I've never, because I do a lot of mentoring and I get asked a lot of questions. People will ask me, and I tell them I was a ward of the state at 14 years old. So I have no problem. I'm not embarrassed by that.
Good.
I hope that it inspires. We live in a very underserved area. So I hope that do whatever you got to do, use whatever resources you have available to you and take advantage of them in a positive way to get where you want to be. And if that is junior college using your athletic ability, if that is a scholarship, if that is working while you do it, it can be done. You don't need to go have a life full of crime and sell drugs in order to get money to do things. Now, am I telling you that you're going to rock $300 tennis shoes and drive an $800 a month car note that you have? Are you going to drive that vehicle while you're trying to go to school and pay? Probably not. But there's a sacrifice there for a short time to help you get to the bigger picture. You have to decide if you're willing to put that work in. And I think that was one of the things. But yes, I had a tremendous people in my life. But I have to tell you, they didn't just give me gobs and gobs of money. Like I worked full time. I think my income I was adopted at 18. They gave me $800 a month that paid my rent, and that paid the bills included with that. And it helped me pay for my books. But back then, guys, we didn't have internet. We had it, but not like now. You can do Google Classroom and all that. But we had to buy $2,000 a semester worth of books. And that's a lot to somebody who was working for, $8 an hour, that's a lot of money to do. So, but I do share where I came from, and even fast forward, I do a lot more in relationships. So I have a relationship with my biological mother. She does live locally now. I did move her close to me. And it's a different relationship, it's a good relationship, but it's nothing that, I talk a lot to people about that. Like I'm not bitter about it. Like I am where I am because of the circumstances that I have. And I've just been able to really have some impactful people help me get to where I wanted to be. And they saw something in me, and they invested in the nonprofit world, and the church group showed up and invested in us for holidays and had conversations with us and challenged us in good ways. But I think people have the victim mentality of, I grew up poor, so I'm due this. You're not due anything in life, whether you grew up poor, whether you grew up in a family with money. I mean, I tell my kids nowadays, like they get kind of made fun of because like you're rich or you don't. I'm like, no, it turns out you're broke. You are OKE. You're broke. Yeah. You are going to have to work. Like
what I've earned ain't yours.
Yeah.
As a famous comedian once said, he said, we were pretty impoverished. He said, but I asked my dad, like, Daddy, why are we so poor? Oh, baby, we're not poor. We're broke.
Yeah.
Right. He said, he said, you go think about that. And then later he said, we talked about it. And then I got to understand, because we have to go get it. We have to go earn it. Nothing's given to us.
Well, and it's like I've seen this. It's an NBA star, and he said like his kids, in order to get some of the inheritance, they have to have 2 degrees. 2 degrees, or they're not in the will. And I'm like, that's impressive because he doesn't want them to bank off of him.
Yes.
They're not counting on me. If you don't have 2 degrees, you're not in the will. Like that's it. And I thought, that's impressive.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know. Like I'm definitely, I try to use everything that we do to pay it forward and to encourage. And I do a ton of mentor in the schools and through other organizations and things. So I'm definitely game to chat about that or speak or people just don't know or they haven't asked or thought about it. So I'm sure now they'll see this and be like, hey.
2 words that you brought up real quick and that you challenged personally, it seems. And one was victim. I'm not going to be a victim. I'm going to work. And then the other is bitterness. And bitterness is when we dwell on what we don't have. And instead, I guess you kept looking toward what you could have. And I know that.
And I think even what I had, what I had wasn't much, but what I had was everything.
Yes.
And that's the kind of like when people define success, I can have offices, places, and we can have a nice home and vehicles, but I didn't grow up in the American family, and I think even now some days, I'm like, our definition of rich is to have the time together as a married couple, a happy married couple. I love my husband. I love our life. I love him. I love him endlessly. He's given me something that I could only dream about, a strong man in a solid relationship that even though he's not the yes man, he's not going to always tell me I'm right. And that was a challenge early on. Like, you're my husband, you're supposed to agree with me. He's like, I am, and I love you, but I'm going to challenge you. And I think that was a blessing I didn't know I needed. Right.
Yes,
But I think if it were any other way, he had been bored and I'd have been bored, right? Because we're both very competitive and all the things. And these incredible opportunity to be parents to kids and raise that next generation and really, really change the way our life was. Like they say, you can change the next generation, and that is a huge blessing to be able to have 3 incredible kids that will do that the next, they'll build their way and do their thing. And I just get a seat there. But beyond that is our team. Like I genuinely tell our team, we had 7 weddings 2 years ago. We had 7 babies last year. And it's such a huge blessing to see them go through the things. I told every one of them to elope. No one listened to me. And they all came back and said, we should have, I'm like, save your money, but in all.
You'll forget the wedding anyway.
Marriage, and then these babies, but it's making sure that they really understand we're a family first business. And I want them to, even talking about planning out a job and people being on, I'm like, we had 3 young men that were on jobs that literally, one had a baby in August, one had a baby in October, and then one had twins in November. And then we had one that was due in November or in December that came in November. So I'm like, but it was very important to me, like, hey, you, as a team, we know this is happening, and I don't want them to get calls when they're like, their time is their time, and I want them to soak it up. Those things are important because I know how, and time is a thief, and I want them to have that. So it's a huge blessing to be able to see them enjoy life. Yeah. And I think they're having their struggles, but when Colin and I started our journey together 23 years ago, we were, literally had $5,000 in the bank and this baby, and unexpected. We were married a year and 2 weeks later had a baby, and we were like, what in the world? But she's just been the biggest blessing and one of the biggest reasons to work hard and to do. And I know that our team is experiencing that, and the days are long, but the years are short. Yes. But that is the same as a business owner. Sometimes the days are long, but the years are short, and the impact we're able to make with a growing team that have that personal balance with that professional balance and feeding them, it feeds us and makes that is success. And how we view that is just how rich we are to be able to pour into people personally and professionally is a huge blessing and something that we don't take lightly. I don't, my husband does not, our leadership team does not take that lightly, and it's a huge blessing.
Awesome. So what I hear flowing from you about life, about business and family, you have this overarching theme of momentum. You have a lot of momentum, a lot of life momentum. So I have a question about that. What are you doing to maintain that momentum? What are you doing to bring, I know you're big on development. I know you're big on, so you have to have already, or you most likely have already thought of your metaphorical replacement.
Yep.
Who will carry the torch for you when you're sitting on that beach? And how are you preparing them to maintain and build more momentum?
Yep. So we're working on that now. I don't know that we've identified who
I wasn't
exactly. Yeah, I don't know who, but that's all work in progress and building an org chart and, kind of seeing where and if our kids play a role in that in any capacity. They have a lot of life, they're young. I always say young and dumb. I don't mean dumb, like, oh, they're young and dumb, but they're just young and dumb. Inexperienced. They just don't know. They think they have it figured out, much like we did. We had it figured out too.
Well, I knew everything, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So
until I did nothing.
Yeah.
Yes. But you don't realize you didn't know anything until like you have 3 kids and you're married and you're like, man, I really didn't know that much. And then life teaches you so much. So yeah, kind of figuring out where they fit in the picture. And it's really not, we're a big when the kids that want to come in to the business, they won't just come in and be
Right.
Like they are coming in and they'll have to know and work. And it's the people business and we want them to be respected and to be confident in their skills and their ability as well. Because they'll be coming in and working with people that with many more people that have way more experience than them.
Right.
Much like I had Colin and a few, but we've built now with a team that they'll have way more people that have way more experience than them. And so they have to find their place and where they're confident. And that's really important to us that they do that if that's the decision that they make. And if they don't, they'll go off and do great things.
Certainly.
And we'll be behind them. I'm sure telling them, I wouldn't have done that. Have you tried this?
How's that working out?
How's that working out? Yeah, it's not going to help. So,
Not I told you so is now what do you know?
yeah, as I fast forward, 10 years and be like, just give me the grandbabies, okay?
That's it.
Right.
That's
Just,
it.
I'm going to be over here holding the baby.
That's right.
While you go figure it out.
You go learn and
Leave me the baby. Yeah,
Well, I'll tell you what, this has been an amazing experience having you with us today. We're drawing, towards a close on our interview with you. There are a few questions that we want to ask that are our traditions that we must ask.
Okay.
But I'm going to share with you a little bit of a connected background that we have that you don't know yet. You guys did a job, I think, well, you'll know how long ago, the Port Arthur Transit
Not that long.
terminal.
Okay.
It's been some years.
Not too long.
No, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
So
It's several.
I actually helped with that.
Okay.
One of my companies that I had
Okay.
came out and did some work for one of your superintendents, I guess would be his title. And the way that happened, you talk about networking, he actually employed my company to clear some property for him and his family that he inherited.
Okay.
And after doing that, he got familiar with me and how we worked, how my little company did business. And then he invited me to come out and work with y'all.
Awesome.
So you're doing good. And I felt very well treated and I enjoyed the experience. There was no negative
Good.
throughout the entire process. So I just thought it was interesting that our paths have crossed.
Yeah, and we didn't know.
Constantly, like and then entering into this practice several years ago, not knowing that we would end up meeting at the BBB stuff. And, I've actually served as a sub at B&I.
Nice.
I can't tell you how many times for a while there until y'all passed the decree that said you couldn't sub more than.
Yeah, it's always been a rule. Our chapters just involved, but now.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, for a while I was the designated hitter. Like I was like, hey, can you sub?
if they have time to sub, they have time to be a member.
Well, I mean, he is already a member, so I just kind of
Yeah,
I couldn't double up on it.
you can in another chapter. Don't play with me. Rob. I can get you plugged in.
Okay, but it's interesting how much she's on it. Isn't she?
Never in.
Plugged in.
Never.
So, but isn't it fascinating how we've been connected without ever?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who the super. I know Richard was probably out there.
Well, I was trying not to drop his name.
Richard.
No, it wasn't Richard.
It wasn't. Okay, well, Richard.
I don't think
is project manager. He might
This guy. It was Stephen Weldon.
Yeah, Steven's still with us.
Yeah, I know he's still with you, but I don't know if he
Well, he
was.
was superintendent then. Now he is a project manager.
There you go.
He has worked up. Yeah, no, he's incredible. He's been on our team many years.
I got to know Stephen before he was any kind of a leader, manager. And I watched y'all develop him and let him grow into, bigger.
He's a project manager on our team. He's out actually currently at CPChem. And he's a great,
good people.
Good people. Yep.
So there you go.
Awesome.
Small world, right?
It is a small world. Yeah.
So before we move into our closing questions, is there anything we missed about you? Anything that we should have asked that we overlooked? Anything you'd like to share? Any nuggets of wisdom? There have been many.
No, I don't think so. Do you think so?
No, I think you went. You definitely versed down about every trail.
Yeah, it was fascinating. I was watching. We have our layout of questions, and you would begin a story and go off, and you pretty much covered everything.
Yeah.
You did a very good
I didn't have to
job.
glance at my script not once. You did wonderful.
Well, I was watching just to see if I missed anything.
Covered.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good job then.
Yeah.
Good job.
So.
You did a good job.
Yeah. Yes.
We just sat back and watched. So if there was a young person, let's say a little bit older than 14, let's say 16 or 17 years old, and they watch this interview and they're inspired by you, what advice would you give them?
And I've said this recently, I would tell them to a couple of things. Number one, don't let their circumstances define where they're going. Number two, be confident. Have more confidence in themselves to make good choices and to find that teacher that, if is it your dance instructor? Is it that mentor that can really, you can confide in, that you trust? And I think that's the world that we live in. It's very difficult to find people that you can trust in that, but find that person that you can, is it your youth pastor? Is it, your small group leader, or whatever it is, find that person that you can trust with 100% of everything to give you some good, solid advice, not tell you what to do. I think we spend a lot of time telling people what they should be doing. I think we need to give them, they need to be able to make choices and understand what the consequences of the choices look like. So I would tell them to be confident in that, like own your decisions and go with it. And don't worry about what other people think about you.
Right.
Like I tell my kids that the quicker you can realize that people are going to have opinions, and some good, some bad, some indifferent, whatever. But if you can own your decisions and you make that decision and you roll with it, be confident in that, and be aware of what people think, because you do want to assess and be like, okay, am I making the good, use that to build, but don't get so down on yourself about that negativity. Like, don't allow the negativity in. So I don't allow things in if it's not a positive. Like, if you're not trying to help me, then you're trying to hurt me.
Right.
And so if you have a solution for me, or if you have a suggestion for me, I'm good. But I don't want to hear about, that's ridiculous, that's never going to work. Right. So what I mean by really evaluate what's being said, but don't internalize it into let that be your reality, because that's just someone's opinion. And if they're really trying to help you, they're going to sit down and ask questions about why did you make that choice, or what were you thinking when you made that choice? So really challenge them to be confident in it, but to really take the people that are genuinely asking them questions and providing some solutions or some suggestions, and not just an opinion.
Yes.
That's good stuff.
Very good.
Chuck, is there anything you'd like to ask before I ask my favorite question?
Oh, yes. Well, it's more of a observation statement. I'm totally biased in this invitation. I've known Natasha for over a decade now, and I knew this would be just a treasure, a wealth of information. But I love your closing comment in learning that art of differentiation, to say that's not an asset. It may sound like a complaint, but that's more of a target. But that complaint, or not, if you will, complaint or question, that's an asset. That person wants me to be better tomorrow than I was yesterday. And I love that you're passing that on, not just generationally to your own kids. That's your first choice. It should be your first target. But you've created an environment. You've created through B&I, through your business, through your associations with a lot of other of our organizations in our little corner of the world here, and it's happening. We can see it. We're friends with a lot of people that are in those programs. B&I, BBB, and others, and we can see their growth. So appreciate all of your generosity in those ways. And I know you're generous in a lot of ways, but that's definitely been the lasting asset. More than just money, more than just a few little things here and there. It's that that's right, that impact of the built character. So, and I love you and I appreciate you.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
One of my favorite things about watching and listening to your story, I say watching because no one can truly appreciate the gravity of this story without seeing the sparkle in your eyes and on your face as you tell it. You can tell that there's a lot of passion. There's a lot of courage and conviction and everything. Just it flows from you. But you have brought to fruition the true pursuit of your purpose, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So many times people get caught in a position where they know they don't belong. They don't really know why,
Right.
but they feel trapped, and they create a lifestyle around a job or a profession that has nothing to do with what they were built to do. And then they settle in and just live miserably. You didn't settle.
Nope.
You created. And as he said, we're watching it happen in the community.
Yeah.
You've done well.
Thank you.
Very well. No, thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
That's what I was getting to, was gratitude for sharing that with us and
Right.
allowing us to showcase you and your journey with our show. So my final question, and it's my favorite question. If you could go back in time and whisper into your own ear, okay, at about that 16, 17-year-old age, what advice would you give yourself?
I would give myself the same advice. When you ask me about a 16 or 17-year-old, what would I tell them? It would be to be confident in my decisions, and to not allow people's opinions of me to be my opinion of myself.
Yeah.
To be more confident in that and to really be subjective. I think that's something you learn. Do I think everybody's going to listen to that? Absolutely not, because we don't. We put so much value in who our friends are and who, like, we let them kind of create who we are, and we aren't true to ourselves. So I would just give myself the same advice, be more confident in my abilities to make a decision for myself, and to own it. And I'm not always going to get it right, but I can figure that out and make it right for me at the time and pivot when I need to. I think sometimes we think we make a decision and we're stuck with that forever, but we don't realize the ability we have to make a decision. And sometimes it's not right, but we can pivot, and we can see a rainbow through that storm if that's what's created, you know? So I would give myself the same advice. I would tell them is to be confident, own your destiny. You're not planning to here forever. Like you're due to do some great things, and just don't let where you are now define where you're going. I think I always knew that. I knew what I didn't want to do, but I didn't know then. Like, I could say, I hear a lot now of people like, I'm speaking it into existence. And I think if I had done a lot of that then, I would have helped me with my confidence to be able to say this. I did a lot of things because I didn't want to count pennies to buy food for my kids. I didn't want to, count pennies out to go get a gallon of milk. I didn't want to have to not worry about paying the electric bill or whatever, because that's what I grew up around. Whereas if I had been more like speaking it to existence and setting a path, like many young people, we just don't know what we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But to be confident in making the decisions and know, like, I'm making this decision and that's going to push me. We joke a lot, our friend group now, fast forward, they're like, oh, Colin will joke and say, yeah, we didn't know each other at A&M. She was in the library and I was in a speakeasy called the library. And so we
I love it.
But all I knew was that I needed to keep my head in the game, and I need to study, and I need to do the things, because I didn't want to pivot off of that at all. But what I will say now is that my kids are in school and I wanted to have some fun, right?
Yes.
I didn't have a lot of fun. And I'm very type A, and I don't have sometimes I'm very high strung, and it's like I don't have a lot of fun. So sometimes I'll catch myself going into that where I'm not having fun, and I have to have fun. So I would tell myself exactly what I would tell the young kids now, is to be confident in yourself. And yes, they're young, but the kids are better equipped these days to make tougher decisions than we had to make 25 years ago. They're equipped with some resources that we didn't have. Now, sometimes that's way over the top, but I think all in all, we are raising a generation of very highly intelligent young adults that we should be more confident in them and give them more credit where credit is due. And I think we have to encourage them to make a decision. Is it always going to be right? No, I don't always get it right. To this day, I don't always get it right. But I would give myself that same advice.
That's one of my favorite things. You brought up a topic there. One of my favorite things about teaching my kids, especially as an older parent,
it's different, isn't it?
It really
is.
Yes.
Teaching them that it's okay to make mistakes.
That's how you learn.
Like when I was young and I had my first kids, I was a different dad than I am now. And I go back and apologize to the older ones. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I had taught you that it's okay to make mistakes and own them and accept yourself afterwards. That's how confidence works. You make mistakes, you learn from it, you move on. The mistake's not what's embarrassing. It's only embarrassing if you don't learn from it and move forward.
Yes.
So embrace the mistakes, you know?
Well, and even not even mistakes necessarily. I'm looking at like, if I had a choice A and choice B, if I'm making choice A, but looking back, if I had done choice B, it would have been a smoother road for me. Right. So, but there are lessons there.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
tell people all the time, like, you know, my kids, I want them on a sports team, not because I think they're incredible athletes. My husband's like, you're a Garrett. We're not known for athletic ability. However, I want them to be on a team because I need them to know the world doesn't revolve around them. I need them to show up prepared. They need to be in full uniform. They need to be, you know, Adrian did competition cheer, whatever. And coach would say, need you ready from bow to toe. Like he wants you ready. And on time means I've shown up 15 minutes early and I am ready. Like not, I've shown up and then I need to lace up my shoes or, hey, I'm here on time, but I still got to do. No, still, if you still have to do something, you're not on time.
Right.
I needed them to know that, hey, you're going to lose sometimes. And you're going to survive. And it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And we're going to go in and put in extra work. And we're going to do, you know, to create a work ethic. And if you want to be successful, you have to put the work in. And the work is worth it.
The work is worth it.
I mean, it's one of those things. So, but if I took road B and I did that and I went with that all-star team that was made with killer, that's not reality all the time. Right.
That's right.
So sometimes it's good. Stick them over here and let them be the best player on the team. Let him be the leader over there, and then let him be learning from a leader. You know, I mean, there are lessons in that. Lessons in losing.
Lessons
in losing. There's a nugget right there.
Sure is.
Natasha, it has been an honor and privilege to have you with us today. Thank you for sharing your story and your life with us and your time. I know that you're a busy lady. You have a lot going on, and thank you for sparing the time to come on here with us today and do this. Is there anything that you'd like to say before we close? No, just thanks for having me. And I'm here to help. So anything I can do to help you guys, let me know. Thank you very much. Anything from you, Chuck?
No.
All right. To those of you who out there who joined us today, thank you for being a part of the Pursuit of Purpose family. Thank you for allowing us to become a part of the pursuit of your purpose. I'm Rob.
I'm Chuck.
And today we've had with us
Natasha Garrett.
Thank you all very much. Have a great day.